in all of our collective channels. Thank you very, very much. All right, let's go on to topic number 2. I thought this was interesting. How do you budget money for a convention? Travel, hotel, food, planned on-site purchases, the usual overspending on things you see and want. Again, that was posted by a viewer on Facebook. So, we enjoy, like Delaney, you just went to D23. A lot of us like to go to Comic-Con. JWR just went to his very first one. I'll start with you, JWR. That was your first experience. Was it more money than you expected? Did you kind of figure it would be kind of the way it was? How did you kind of go into it as a first time con goer?
I talked to you about prices. I talked to Billy about prices and kind of what to expect. And everybody was kind of like, this is what signatures cost. This is what original art's going to cost. So kind of budget around that. So I had it budget in mind, and I actually came out a little bit less than I expected to spend. Don't go with Chris to a Finch dinner. Or actually, it's really great to go with him because he'll buy all the art, and you're just like, I want that, but
it's gone.
Yeah, gone. But you're going to get one now, so that's even better. That's right. So, yeah, that dinner was definitely expensive. Because that's not an everyday con going thing unless you just you can make it happen, but that was a big expense that might not normally happen.
Dinner for when you told me about it and you sent me the link before I opened it, I thought it was going to be way higher. So I was like very pleased with the amount that the dinner was actually like charged us for, and the food was incredible.
Yeah, the food was great, and obviously the company was fantastic. So I'm glad to hear that you didn't spend quite as much as you were planning. What would you guys say in general are your biggest expenses in going to a con?
Commissions.
Well, for Matt, but yeah, you just went over the edge this year, my friend.
But I do try to do it smart, where like
way over the edge.
It's put you to shame, Chris. And that's
oh my God, I can't even compete. I'm not even close to this guy now.
That's saying something too.
Yeah, it is. I spent a lot of money on this Finch wall, but man, Mr. Martin's blowing me away this year.
But what I normally do, and I think Dan's adapted this too. Like they'll say if there's going to be somebody, let's just say it's 2 months before the convention. Like MegaCon, I always reach out to Tony because I got his cell number, Tony Daniels, and I'll be like, hey.
It's number 3.
Yeah. And whether we keep in touch, we're at this point, we send family Christmas cards and all that. So we're like real cool. But anyway, I'll go ahead and pay for the commission with him before the con. Hey Matt, this is what I'm thinking. Here's a kind of a basic design, yay nay, what do you want to do, type thing like that. But if you can pay for some of these commissions before the con, that way you go into the con with X amount of money, you're ahead of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. What about the rest of you? What else not just what you're going to buy there, but what else do you spend money on at a con? Like I think of hotel. I think of airline or gas. To me, those are the biggest expenses by far.
Comics. Yep. Comics.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially for Jeff. Jeff, that's what you go for.
Yep. I went to preview night for San Diego and walked up to one of the first booths I went to, and there was a nice copy of Batman #7, and I was like, "That's really cool."
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent a big chunk of money right off the bat walking in the door.
So do you have like XYZ number in mind, or do you just kind of go, I'm just going to go with the flow?
Well, I own 8 and 9, so finding a nice 7 made sense. Man, there's a 10 on eBay I'd love to own, but the person's asking twice what it's worth.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever get 1 through 10, you're pretty good.
I've owned all of them at one time or another, but not at the same time.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So your biggest expense obviously is actually at the con. And I feel like most of the cons you go to are pretty local, like they're pretty close to you. But you do have to spend hotel and you do have to drive and stuff.
$1,200 for San Diego hotel.
Okay.
And that's one that's far away from the convention center. I have to shuttle in.
Yeah, that's right. What about you guys? Any advice on budgeting for how you guys do the show?
I like to give a lot of thought to what I might buy at the show. So I pay pretty close attention. You know, my focus tends to be on the art. I don't do the same giant size commissions that you and more Mr. Martin does than but although you of late, Chris.
I know.
I don't get involved in that so much, but you know, I'll look at, you know, which artists do I want to visit for either signatures on books I might already have. Maybe I want a head sketch. You guys will see when I do get around to doing this room tour, the stairway that leads up to the room that I'm in here, I've got original art lining both sides of the stairway. So
wow, cool.
I've got that is really cool. And they're all the same size. They're all 9 by 12.
Love that.
So that came out real nice. So, but those kinds of things I'll think about before I go, and I can put a number to those things. You know, I know roughly how much a head sketch costs from, you know, an A-level artist to a B-level artist or below. And in terms of unanticipated on-site expenses, usually it ends up being comic books. If I find a really good deal on a book I've always loved, or, you know, like I'll give you an example. Matt and I last year at MegaCon, we bumped into a booth where a guy had 2 beautiful copies of Batman 608. I mean, beautiful copies. And we were convinced, Matt and I scrutinized those books, and both of us were convinced those are 9/8 books. We got them for, was it $200 a piece, Matt?
He said they were uncirculated.
Uncirculated
Wow.
books that come out of a comic book shop that had closed, and the whole story was there, right? And they looked like that, $200 a piece, and both are 9/8, came back 9/8.
It's awesome.
So things like that, you know, special books that I run into, or if I'm looking for a book, I'll maybe, you know, say, okay, if I find it at this kind of price range. So I'd be lying if I didn't say that I usually spend over the number I had in mind, but I've kind of learned over the years and gotten better about it. I usually fare with my target.
I'd say the only thing that I've seen that you've really been hit with is probably like, you know, Choice Fine Art and coming out with an Alex Ross or something like that, where you weren't necessarily anticipating, but then you see it on the wall, you're like, yep, it's got to come home.
A couple of times that has happened.
Well,
You can see
me
one
and
of them
Dan
behind me.
Me and Dan will talk about like, hey, we're budgeting, MegaCon or whatever con we're going to. And then I was like, well, whatever your budget is, you got to have an extra 1,000 for, oh shit, you know, for like, oh shit, I got to have it, you know.
Well, that happened to me with the David Finch Man Bat. You guys were standing right next to me. We're flipping through the book, and I'm like, yeah, I've got it. $1,200.
I was really happy you bought it, because I would have bought it if you didn't.
Really? All right. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take it from you though, too. Like, I feel bad, but
It's a special, that's a special piece. I felt connected to it somehow too, because I literally watched him draw that from a blank page to a finished copy. Like I watched the entire live stream when it happened. I just thought it was a really, really cool piece. So I was glad you spent the $1,200, because now I can
I was going to say, well, if it ever goes out of the collection, you're the first one I'll think of. Okay. But yeah, it's like, you know, those expensives you're not planning on, but sometimes just things happen. And if you have the funds and you can do it, you're like, I just have to do it.
I've also narrowed the number of cons down that I go to. There's just no need. I used to go to quite a few, and now I'm just kind of like, no, I think I'm going to go to 1, maybe 2 big ones a year and a couple of small ones as they come up. Yeah. Usually don't spend a ton of money at the smaller ones. They don't tend to attract the same level of artist or artwork for that matter. Yeah. So that helps too on the overall budget. You know, and makes building the buffer in, to Matt's point, a little easier when you're not going to these things once every 6-8 weeks. Yeah.
Well, and where you used to live, I feel like you were probably closer to a lot of those, because there was a lot of events up there. I felt like
there were a lot within, I'd say 2 to 3 hours. Well, certainly 4 hours. There were.
But drivable distances,
drivable. There's also a lot here. They're a little bit further range, you know, 6 to 8, but there's definitely a lot in the southeast as well that have all of a sudden become more attainable. But I'm trying not to look.
What's the one in Atlanta?
Dragon.
Yeah. So has anybody ever done Dragon Con? That's one I hear about. That's like another good con.
I've heard it's good, but even before anime came as huge as it has been these past 3 to 5 years, it was huge there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big percentage of that con.
Yeah.
I want to highlight this. Eric says if anybody needs New York Comic Con 24 tickets, I have a few extra 4-day badges for sale. So
Yeah, I have a press pass, and my family's not going this year, so I have a few extras. I have 3 extras.
Gotcha.
okay. Well, now I got to figure out if I want to go to New York Comic Con. Yeah, we're really excited. Of course, we're going to be doing MegaCon. We're still see if we can still convince this guy right here.
Come on, Jeff. You got to come down.
Worth
They
going.
got some good comic vendors down
Worth the
there.
trip.
And Disney.
4 shows in the past 5 months.
Yeah, you're burned out. You're burned out. Yeah.
Got to get you to Disney though. We got to get you to Universal. We got to get you there. That's right. And we're not gonna stop. We're just gonna keep hounding you.
I'll direct you to my wife.
All right. Maybe we need like a notarized letter or something to make it look official. Like it's like
Something
please
like
let Jeff go, please. But yeah, any other advice, guys, about?
I would just say start budgeting hypothetically if the con's in February. Start budgeting 3 to 4 months before. You know, I mean, like, hey, even if it's 200 to 300 here and there or whatever, you'll still, with respect, you know, it's the end. You know, have 1,000 or so.
I mean, you could absolutely go to a convention and not buy a thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Like my friend Damon, you know, he goes every single year. He doesn't buy anything. Like he just likes to go. He likes to people watch. He likes to just look at all the nerdy stuff. I think out of all the years we've ever gone to a con, I think he's only bought one thing, and that was like a Funko Pop because he had collected. He was collecting specifically the old like 70s cereal characters.
Oh yeah, those are great.
He's a teacher also, and he had his classroom, and he had a lot of those displayed and stuff like that in his room. And I was like, those are fun to collect, you know, just like if you find just a specific thing to collect. And but you know, it's just you can go and absolutely not spend any money. Obviously, the hotel and the travel part of it, and food too. Don't forget about going out to eat and traveling on the road, and so all of that does add up. But once you get to the convention itself, you can not spend a thing. But for me personally, it's like I would at least give yourself a little spending money. At least if you find something that's fun, go for it. You're not some of this stuff you're not going to always find. You're not going to find it at Walmart or Target. So
yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, like you said, Matt, $200 or $300 or whatever. Give yourself a little bit of a budget if you can afford it. So yeah, let's see. Cal L says, I went to a con with my buddy in Denver once and didn't buy anything. I just wanted to watch baseball that weekend, so I went along for the ride. Well, there you go.
Yep.
So again, there's a little bit of an expense, but you can absolutely go without spending a dime if you didn't want to. So
hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.